Well, it's a Friday briefing, and the Chief Minister is with us ahead of Tynwald Day. Of course, it would have been on Saturday, but it's moved till Monday. But that's your 30th, I understand, is that right?
It is, yes. Time flies by very quickly, but yes, that's my 30th experience.
Did you ever think you would be the Chief Minister all those years ago?
I initially came into politics in a by-election in 1984 with the expectation of retiring in 1986. It was a very short-term expedient. I didn't expect to be still in government or Parliament after 30 years, let alone Chief Minister.
Well, it's been a rough time the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Well, it's been challenging.
Well, you say challenging, but suddenly it looks like things are slipping away from you slightly. Do you accept that you're making Coburn are making decisions, and yet they're not being thought through correctly?
I think there's a need to separate the reality from the spin. The perception certainly is that mistakes have been made, and very sadly I've lost one of my senior ministers, and we now have the PAC report. You need to look behind it though. Government and ministers in particular are in power simply to forward the services we provide for the people of the Isle of Man. And in all these cases, this is exactly what's been happening. We are there to develop policy, strategies, and give support to the community. Mr. Shimon and the Treasury made a decision on the Sefton, absolutely with the best of intentions, to protect over 300 jobs. And I've recently had correspondence from the staff of the Sefton Group, representing 340 staff altogether, thanking us for the support we gave, because they believe their jobs were at serious risk. The decisions which have been made by Mr. Tier and Mr. Robertshaw in relation to the CI65, the NI review, were absolutely essential to enable us to gather the data together to make long-term strategic decisions on protecting the welfare state, developing the health service, and where we go with national insurance.
Yeah, but the report's been leaked and it's headlining something different, isn't it?
It has been written for journalists to pick up on a number of sound bites. It's been politically motivated. If you strip away the rhetoric and look what is underneath it, there is a statement, yes, that financial regs hadn't been properly followed. If that is the case, we will review it and make sure it doesn't happen again. But the fundamental concern that was expressed in the early days that they were wrong to do this because it should have had Tynwald approval, the committee have quite clearly stated that they didn't need Tynwald approval and never have had in the past. So I think we need to strip the rhetoric out of this, strip the point scoring, which clearly has followed out of this, and just drill down to the core. Firstly, the reasons for doing it is to help to protect the services for the people of the Isle of Man. And secondly, if mistakes have been made or misinterpretation of financial regs has taken place, it will be rectified. It's not the end of the world. No one has lost any money. The taxpayers' money, the ministers have not been paying fast and loose with taxpayers' money.
Well, it says it.
It is utter nonsense, and it's been said specifically in that report to grab the headline of the media, and that's exactly what's happened. If you read behind it, that is not what has happened at all. The ministers have taken the action in the best interest of the people of the Isle of Man to achieve what we are elected to do.
You have to see, though, from the point of view of the public, it looks like now maybe you're failing to deliver. You were putting it through just as a Coburn thing, but you should have gone to Tynwald.
The report quite specifically states we didn't need to go to Tynwald. We never have had to go to Tynwald. The report says that. So you need to strip away the rhetoric around it, because that's a smokescreen that they've set up. Now, when you're talking about we haven't delivered, the three ambitions that this government has had is rebalancing the budget, protecting the vulnerable, and growing the economy. We are in touching distance now of rebalancing the budget 1 year ahead of where we expect it to be. That's a huge achievement when you think that we've lost 1/3 of our income. Over £200 million a year was lost. We have very nearly delivered on that.
But you don't know where the VAT is going, do you?
We have also focused on growing the economy. All the messages we're getting from the economy, even the local economy at the moment, are positive, and growth is there. Unemployment is at the lowest for a number of years. And by protecting the vulnerable, yes, we've had some problems with bringing in charges. That's an unfortunate side effect of rebalancing the budget. But the steps which were taken by bringing in CI65 to review the National Health Fund were specifically aimed to try and start the process of putting in strategies to protect the vulnerable for the future. So we are delivering.
The VAT,
so don't get that mixed up.
The VAT, though, still hasn't been sorted.
It is another issue. It's not going to be settled until the end of this year, or maybe even early next year before the final pieces are in place. Yes, we have to wait and see how that happens, but that's a separate issue altogether. It's out of our hands in that respect.
Let's go back to talking about you. How are you feeling in charge as government? I mean, it started off with those words that you could say were misquoted about national unity government and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Bringing in Mr. Karen, people into the fold, that hasn't worked. And of course, you've got Mr. Beecroft, who's also staunchly against you, and she's on the record saying that you should be Chief Minister.
Well, I don't really take Mrs. Beecroft's comments that seriously. She is there to drive forward or raise awareness of her party, and if she feels like doing that, that's fine.
How do you feel?
I am frustrated, I've got to say, with some of the issues which have taken place. I am frustrated that there is a danger that Tynwald, not the Council Ministers, are taking their eye off the ball of what we have to achieve in the rebalancing, the growing the economy and protecting the vulnerable. The point scoring which has taken place now, and this is indicative of the fact that, and it happens in most administrations, we are just about to enter the start of the general election campaign. It usually starts about 2 years out. This is starting to come through. We have worked tirelessly to bring in the changes necessary to protect the services that we provide for our public, to protect the economy of the island, and to protect the international reputation of the island, all of which is absolutely vital for our people. It's frustrating for me as Chief Minister that that's not recognised, certainly by some of our critics in Tynwald. And it's also, I have to say, very disappointing, and I'm on record of having said this before, that my ambition in the early days, as you rightly say, was to develop greater unity in Tynwald, to not exactly have a government of national unity, but to try and encourage members to work together in a positive way to help the island grow itself out of its current difficulties. I have failed on that, and I put my hands up, I've said this before. Very disappointing, but we have to live with what I've got.
So what about Mr. Bell, though? I mean, you know, this pressure, this relentless pressure, it seems at the minute, especially it's building up. Are you going to see this through? Are you going to stay to the end of the term? I
will certainly be here till the end of the term. I have 2 years to run to the general election. I have no intention of standing down before the general election. If the members of Tynwald, though, have no confidence in what I'm doing, or that they wish me to stand down, then they can easily move a motion of no confidence, and I would respond to that.
But that's what I'm trying to get to. You yourself, you feel still energised to continue this task?
It's been a very challenging period for me as well. It does physically take its toll, as well as the political activity that goes on. But no, I am still committed to delivering the agenda that we started this term with. We are making great strides forward now in delivering this. People may not see it, but I can assure you behind the scenes things are moving very much in our favour. And so I feel quite confident that what we've done is delivering. But I said right at the very outset of this administration, any Chief Minister during this period is going to end up being extremely unpopular, because we've got to make some very painful decisions. We have to turn the tide against a backcloth of 20 years of steady growth in government revenues, steady growth in public services, almost unlimited pay rises for government staff. We have to turn the tide on that and bring in fundamental changes which are not going to be unpopular. And therefore any Chief Minister, and I accept that this administration in some quarters is very unpopular for the decisions it's made, but without those decisions, the life of the next House would be unbearable, frankly, and the cuts and changes that would have to be brought in then would be massively more damaging than what we've done.
No doubt Mr. Shimon was one of your allies, and do you see that this is going to be a period in the wilderness, but you'll bring him back in this 2-year period?
Mr. Shimon is one of the more able members of Tynwald. He does have vision, he has energy, drive. I am absolutely sure that his contribution to the welfare of the Isle of Man is vastly in excess of some of the backbenchers who are currently criticising him. And I've no doubt at all that if Mr. Shimon wishes it, he will be back working in government somewhere in the very near future.